So my name is Laila Pawlak, and I am the CEO of Singularity U Nordic. And you want me to say what that is?
Yeah, please.
Excellent. Well, so we are a benefit corporation that are helping people to understand technology and what is happening in technologies, and especially exponential technologies like artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And helping people find out how they can leverage these technologies to go out and positively impact the world to solve some of the global grand challenges that we were also talking about here today.
Yeah, that was a great speech.
Good, happy
as
to
well.
like it.
What about, you said something about purpose-driven entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so I think really we're seeing a shift that it's not really anymore just about going out and create a business that makes money. That's great, and we should, because as somebody said to me the other day, I read this great quote where it's like, making money is like air. You need it to breathe, right? But if you think that's what life is about, you're really getting life wrong, right? So there's so much more to running a business than just making the money. That's the foundation of what it's really about. But having a larger purpose with your business, like why are you here? We talk about this massive transformative purpose. How are you being part of the solution instead of part of the problem? And how can you turn some of the biggest challenges that we have into some of the biggest opportunities for you and your organizations? That's what we talked about.
And what is the answer to that question?
Well, that is
To those questions.
Yeah, well,
how can you do it?
Well, how can you do it? So I think one is, there are a couple of answers, and obviously it's complex, right? But I think one is, first of all, to find a problem that you are really bothered about, right? What is something that really annoys you enough that you want to get up every day, even in like our Scandinavian weather, on a Monday at 7, right? To really say, I'm on a path. I want to solve this big problem, right?
Yeah.
And whether that is climate change or parts of climate change, or helping people go to school, whatever it is, like whatever something you're passionate about, big or small, I want to solve this problem. Start with that. Start with the problem. Then, when you start looking at solutions, you really need to think about how you can leverage technology, because you can solve the problem one-to-one. I can feed you if you are hungry, but I can also leverage technology to find a way where we can feed more. So technology is really your opportunity to scale and have a massive impact. So leverage different kinds of technologies is really an answer. And then, and that's also what we talked about today, find out how you can gather a passionate team around the problem and solution you have, and make sure that that team is a diverse team. And it is not just clones of yourself, because somehow down the line, you're going to meet something where you need other competencies than the ones that you have.
You make it sound very easy, but
no,
passion and diversity is one of the key, or two of the key questions.
Well, and then technology, right? So it's a combination. And I don't think it's easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But it's right. And we see a lot of people succeeding, and it has never been easier to leverage technology than it is today. No. It has never been cheaper. It's never been more accessible than it is today. So really what we need to think about is how do we find these problems actually? And how do we dare to stay in the problem for a while until we don't just come up with like the easy solution, but really one that makes sense, right?
So what role can the Nordic countries play here? You mentioned California, of course, because you have a lot of exponential growth there. But what's the differences between the Nordics and California? What is also our purpose and our role in this game?
Well, so I'm super excited that you asked that question, because that's actually something, and I mentioned this also in my talk and also in the conversations afterwards. In the Nordics, we have a really long tradition of, we needed each other to be able to navigate. It's not the American dream, you go there, you make it on your own kind of thing, right? We've always done it together, right? And we worked with unions, we had the corporations, the collaboratives, all of these things. It's in our core nature. And we also have found a way to build a welfare system, build a school system that is inclusive of everyone, all of these things. So I think there's no one in the world that has a better opportunity, and maybe also even responsibility, to take on the role of being sort of an ethical guide to the future. Meaning, with all of this technology comes tremendous opportunity, but also a massive responsibility. Because, we are able to do things today that we need to think about if we should do, and if we should do it, how we should do it. And that responsibility is really something that we need to take seriously. And I think in the Nordic countries, we can guide the way in this and be the role models for the future of how to leverage technology in an ethical, responsible way that it is used for good and not for bad.
That's great. How do we make the world listen to us?
Well, I think by leading by example, really, and that's so old school to say, but it's also really true. I mean, we need to have the conversations, the talks, the debates, all of this. We're also used to do that. We have Almedalen, we have Folkemødet, and I mean that's what we do in the Nordics, right? We have the conversations, we talk about things in the present. So we need to think about that. It's not just all the bad stories that goes into the press. I think I mentioned also for each good story, there's 17 bad. Yeah. So we need to make sure that the good stories also come ahead because we can learn from the good stories. Yeah. Also, this is how they solve this problem. This is also an inspiration for me to learn to make my company, my personal life better. So we need to learn from the good stories. So we need to encourage the press to also share those, right? And we need to want to read them. So that's one thing. But we really need to also take action and really think about how can I be part of the solution, right? And we all, I mean, it's really when, if you look at history, it's really when it's not when the two parties were fighting in, a war or whatever, that it ended. It was very often when somebody on the outside, right, got in and said, hey, I can interfere here. One of my colleagues, he talks about the bystanders, right? It's really the notion of other people standing up. And I think we think about what can I do? But we are all really bystanders. And if we decide that we want to take action, then, fundamentally we can be part of this change. And I think whether that is how we eat or how we drive or, small things also matter, right? So really be part and be conscious about our choices, I think is important.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
That's great.